an update from Mr. Richard Thompson, Deputy Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, good afternoon. Just in keeping with what the Acting Commissioner have said, I have visited the site this morning, and one of the things that is happening, which is giving the firefighters significant challenges, is actually the wind. The present wind direction is coming out of the southeast, and it is blowing at about, gusting at about 27 knots. And what you'll find at this time of the day, that given that the temperature is very high, you're having a certain level of atmospheric instability, and you will find that the smoke will be in the upper reaches. So persons like in the hills and in Red Hills and parts of Plantation Heights will be impacted at the moment. And while the firefighters work towards the afternoon or into the evening when the temperature reduces, then you'll find that persons in the lower levels will be impacted, persons like Duane Park and those areas. So coming out of what the Ministry of Health is saying and what we have always said to persons whenever time there's a fire at site at Riverton is to minimize the levels of outdoor activities as best as possible. Try to cover your nose with a wet rag and keep children indoors as best as possible. And persons who have respiratory illnesses, we ask those persons to take precautionary measures at this time as well, and try as best as possible to stay away from the location and areas being impacted by smoke. We have had discussion with the National Environment and Planning Agency, and at present what we are doing is doing an aerial reconnaissance in collaboration with the Jamaica Defense Force to have a better site appreciation, because what is happening on site is that you really can't see the full extent of the fire. So what we are doing now, I think the helicopter went up at about, it's 1 o'clock now, they went up at about 12:30, trying to get a full aerial view of what is happening on site. And we'll be asking the National Environment and Planning Agency for an air quality report so we can have a full appreciation of that and continue to get the update from the Ministry of Health, and that command and control activities continue to take place between the NSWMA, ODPEM, and the JFB, also in collaboration with the National Works Agency, where we are getting some asset support from the Chinese who are working there as well, in terms of the assets that we're using, trucks and those things. So basically that's it for now. What we try to do is work throughout the day in that kind of command setup between the ODPEM and the rest of the team on site. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chung, Chairman of the NSWMA.
Thanks a lot, Robert. Just to give an update as to what exactly happened yesterday, I was at home and I received a call that a fire was happening at the landfill. This is something that as a board we've always expressed that it was a risk. I mean, fortunately, we have taken measures over the past year and a half or so to ensure that most of the landfill is covered. We just have about 3 acres open at any one time for a fire suppression system. So while we understand what is happening with the citizens around the area, you know, we have taken steps to deal with this very quickly. As you have seen, the response yesterday was very good. Czech, for example, we want to extend gratitude to China Harbor, because when we called on them, they were able to deploy some of their equipment to the site and assist us with it. The information that I've received is that it's highly suspected that is arson, which will be consistent with what we've seen over the past 2 months on some of these fires. Retirement, for example, which cost us approximately over the past 2 months $64 million. And this one is estimated to cost us about $10 million, I would think. So the cost to the taxpayers is very significant. And we want to appeal to the persons that are out there, if anyone is deliberately doing this and setting the fires, that they desist from doing it, because it really creates a hardship, not just in terms of the environment, but financially also on the taxpayers. The minister will be speaking to some of the enhanced measures that we're going to be taking. It is a difficult thing always to do because it's over 100 acres, for example, at Riverton, and we have people living in the communities in very close proximity. So it's always very difficult to manage. But I want to thank the fire service. I want to thank Czech. I want to thank the NSWMA staff. When I spoke with one person this morning, they had just left the dump about 15 minutes when I spoke with them, and they were on their way back there, so they were working right through the night. And I also want to thank the minister for the support that he has been giving to us, and also the Prime Minister for the support that he gave to us yesterday in ensuring that we had this swift response. Thank you.
The Minister will now join us to give an update as to the government response. What are some of the initiatives that we're going to put in place to prevent this from taking place? Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Marlon. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The circumstances why we are here this afternoon is one of great concern to the government. I just updated the cabinet on the recent fire at Riverton and also gave cabinet an extensive update on the situation that the landfills across the country has been experiencing over the last 2 months. The chairman just indicated the problems at retirement, and now we are seeing another card being played out at Riverton. It is clear based on the information that has come to us that there is a deliberate attempt to dislocate the work of the National Solid Waste Management Authority. And the fires that we have seen can only be described as an act of arson and an attempt to hijack the National Solid Waste Management Authority. It is clear that there are persons who in the past have benefited from fires at the landfill, some who provide services by offering their trucks and heavy-duty equipment, and others who find favor in many other areas of activity. I want to make the government position quite clear. We do not intend to bow to any pressure from any sector of the society and to facilitate any form of employment to those persons. The National Solid Waste Management Authority has taken the steps. Last night I spent a couple hours with them on the location. They are using equipment, private equipment, trucks coming in, and other such assistance have been provided by private individuals. We are aware of some of those whose equipment would benefit when there's a fire on the landfill, and we are not prepared to countenance by calling on those individuals to assist in any operations as it relates to the fires. What we saw in retirement, we have had 2 fires in retirement in less than a month. One cost roughly around some $12 million. And the last one, as you all know, hurt the agency badly. And I want to spend a little time on retirement because there are some 22 families living on the dump in retirement. And they occupy an area of the dump where all the fires that have occurred at retirement has taken place in that area. It is a selected area. The recent fires have allowed the MSWMA to start negotiations with a government entity to secure lands to assist in the relocation of those persons who are living on the retirement dump. The administration is also cognizant that there has to be a human side to our response. And while we do not want to legitimize the illegal activities, we cannot ignore the fact that if these people are to be relocated, then we should play a part in helping in the relocation. And the cabinet this morning was updated on it, and I intend at a later stage to make a formal request to cabinet on the matter. The area in retirement where the fire was lit is a difficult area to traverse. And it's an area where we had to create access to get to the fire. After many days of hard work, we were able to bring the fire under control. I'm a little bit disappointed, though, that in one of our daily newspapers this morning, there was an article indicating that there are still issues at retirement. I want to assure the public and assure the residents in Montego Bay and the areas surrounding the retirement landfill that we have brought the fire under control and there are no issues relating to the events of the last 2.5 weeks. If we watch the pattern, it is clear that over the last 2 months, some 10 fires have occurred on landfill across the country. In Riverton, in Doctors Wood, in Addo, in retirement. And we are seeing where the cost to the country is going to run us close to over $100 million. And I want to make the point that the funds to fight the fire is not readily available. We have to take those resources from elsewhere in order to assist with putting out these fires. And while I can speak clearly that we are confident that there is an attempt to sabotage our efforts. Following the fire in 2015, a joint effort between the National Solid Waste Management Authority and JSIF was implemented to use the Duane River as a means of offering support in case there is a fire. An extensive amount of money was spent to put in a system which I've seen it work, and we believe that that system would significantly helped to reduce the number of fires. We noticed over the last 2 months a vicious assault has been unleashed upon the system, where the pump was damaged, certain connections were taken off. And this only tells us, following yesterday's incident, that there is a pattern that has emerged. And the country must recognize, while we cannot extricate ourselves from taking full responsibility, and as the minister with responsibility, we're not going to shy away from the issues that have plagued our landfill over the years. This administration continues to treat the matter with the urgency that we consider is required. And one of the approaches that we have taken is about the divestment of our landfills. The Most Honorable Prime Minister will meet with the enterprise team and the Solid Waste Authority over the next 2 days to be updated on the progress of the enterprise team's work on the divestment of the Riverton City landfill. Some of the steps that we are going to be taking to help to minimize the fire, and Dennis made the point that the area where the fire was lit is a small portion of the landfill. It is the only area that is actively being used for tipping, and that area came into use just about 3 weeks ago. All other sections of the landfill is covered. There is adequate covering material on site to respond to the fire. We have given the National Solid Waste Management Authority the go-ahead to do what is necessary. We are going to be providing funding, one, for all landfills across the country to have adequate security starting immediately. We are taking this matter very, very seriously. Another step that we'll be taking is that all landfill across the country will now have to stockpile adequate covering materials as one of the response to the problems. We're going to be working on a more detailed response to the problems, but for the time being, these are some of the measures that we intend to put in place. And before the end of the week, there will be a major announcement as it relates to the Riverton City landfill. I want to urge some patience and some understanding and ask that we observe the warnings and the advisory that is being extended. Let me say in closing how grateful we are to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. The chairman have already done that. And to all those who have responded to our call over the last 48 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. Just want to reiterate the government's seriousness in dealing with this issue. We found out about the fire early afternoon. The fire brigade was activated immediately. The entire team from the NSWMA was activated. The minister, the prime minister was made aware. The chairman was on the ball. We needed more equipment. China Harbour jumped in, provided additional equipment, trucks and heavy machinery. So it's a full government response to this issue. We take it very seriously. We recognize the challenges that it poses to the citizens of Kingston and St. Catherine and surrounding areas, and we do apologize for the inconvenience and also the impacts to their health. We're going to take a few questions. As you can see, we have two persons with microphones on either side of the room, so you can just indicate by raising your hand and we will try as best as possible to answer all your questions. Stand and identify yourself and we will get the relevant person to respond to your query.
Stephanie Hamilton, IRFM. Minister, this isn't the first time that we have heard that additional security will be provided. What will be different this time?
As I said before, we have been down that road before, and we intend to make this arrangement that we are going to be putting in place. We are going to make it one that is not a temporary fixed in terms of the security. But there is another aspect to the security which I'm not prepared to speak on just now.
We have another question.
Yes. This one is for the minister or Mr. Chung. I'm Jason Cross from the Gleaner. Residents say that they were not responsible for lighting the dump, but it was combustible waste, not stored properly on the site. What do you say about that, Minister?
Well, I don't know, right? But the information that we have is that there is evidence that it's highly likely that there was some accelerant there. There are some traces seen. Right. The other thing is that the fires occurred at two separate areas in 12 hours. So the first one occurred at one area and the next one at another area. And then if you think about the internal combustion, because we had that, the doctors would one was internal combustion, it doesn't spread that quickly. So you understand, if something is underneath and you have internal combustion, you're not going to see a significant spread in such a quick period. So all that points to that. And then the minister spoke about the sabotage of the fire suppression system. So when you look at all those things and then what happened at retirement, it points to that. You know, so I mean, we're just going based on the information we have. We can't say yeah or nay, you know, yet, but that is the information that we have right now.
I think I visited the dump yesterday and I spoke to residents who live close to the dump, and the indications are that they are aware that there is possible efforts to light the dump on several occasions. So I will not question your information, but first-hand information that I personally received from canvassing residents in the vicinity is that they know what took place, or they suspect what took place, and they gave indications as such. Do we have another question?
Kimon Francis, Jamaica Observer. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys said the fire spread over 8 acres?
Let the minister clarify that.
Please.
Well, let me just make a correction to the commissioner's early thing. The areas affected is about 2 to 3 acres, because that area that is presently being used is the tipping area. So what is known as a tipping area is the area that is presently being used to tip garbage that comes to the landfill. Okay?
Sir?
Anthony Log, TVJ News. Minister, respond to comments that the issues we're having at these disposal sites are as a result of poor management.
While I will admit that we are not where we want to, but there is no denying that there are persons who has intentions that are not honorable intentions. We have seen significant improvement in the management of our landfill over the last 2.5 years. It is just about, when I spoke in Parliament, I made the point, and I, knock wood, probably is an unfortunate statement then, to say that we have not had one fire since I've made that announcement. So it is not just a question of management, but there's also a culture. The last fire in 2015 cost the taxpayers over $200 million with one individual alone getting a substantial amount of that 200 odd million. So there's a question of management right across our landfills. We have been working on it. We have made attempts to improve it, and we have seen improvements. But we still continue to be affected by issues such as the one that we have been experiencing over the last couple of weeks.
I think to reiterate what the minister has said, since the last fire in 2015, there has been significant changes in terms of the management of the facility, significant covering of the facility, the securing of tires, which was a significant contributor to the last incident. Tires are covered, so you'd have to dig up the tires now to light them. The current area, there's a rule that there's a restricted amount of space that you would have garbage open. So the current area where the minister speaks about the tipping area, the reason why the fire is being contained so quickly is because it's not an expansive area where the fire can spread. So there has been significant improvements in the management of the area. But it's very difficult in an area that is accommodates significant amounts of informal settlers to control the areas effectively, which is why the minister and the prime minister have been working to find the final solution for the facility, which is privatization. And I think that is a solution that will deal permanently with a lot of these challenges.
With that being said, though, who is able to access that side of the dump that you speak of?
Well, the reality of the dump, minister, if you wish to, if you want me to, or you want to speak about it.
If you know Riverton dump, it is a vast, vast area. And there are many access points that takes you to there. I experienced that last night. It is a challenge, and there is no running away from that reality. That a lot of people survive on the landfill. And there are certain activities which benefit them more. Okay? It is difficult to police, but as I said before, earlier on, there's going to be a major announcement as it relates to enhance security measures, which will come soon.
We have somebody to the left.
Yes, hi, good
Our mic.
afternoon, everybody. Nika Lewis from Nationwide News. Usually we talk about the issues over and over and over. I want to know how far we are from a full resolution of just not having to come here again for another press release or a press briefing concerning fires on one of our dumps, which obviously is benefiting somebody's. That's why we're constantly here. So I'd like to know what it's really going to cost us to fix this once and for all. I know you're saying it's going to be a challenge. Yes, there are going to be challenges, but it's not impossible. So what's it really going to take to fix it? And where are we? How far are we from the real resolution?
I think the minister spoke about the enterprise team that was announced. I think it was last year, minister, and it was announced here. And the purpose of the enterprise team is to find individuals, companies, or whoever wishes to purchase the facilities, whether it be for revenue, waste, energy, and so on. And I think the government is of the view that that is the final solution. That is where we need to go to fix this problem once and for all. As the minister said, the Prime Minister within a couple of days will be getting an update from the enterprise team that is mandated to look at the privatization of it. And I'm sure after that update is done, then the country will be made aware of how far the process is as it relates to efforts to privatize the facility. Do we have another question? If we don't. Yes, sir.
Marvin Moody from JNN. I'd just like to know if members of the public are affected by the smoke. Is the government in a position to help them, and is there a help number for them to call?
That's something that we would have to speak to the Ministry of Health about. We know that they have sent out an advisory giving persons guidance as it relates to how to secure their health, persons with asthma, children, and so on. So we'd have to check on the ministry to find out whether or not such a facility has been activated. Would you like to?
For a situation such as that, it is really difficult to do verification because normally, I think based on where I sit as a public officer, if you are doing a payout, you have to do proper verification, determine that the government is liable and the government is at fault for a certain thing. So it's a very difficult situation to do an assessment to say that the impact is as a result of the fire at Riverton or it's not. So what we try to do in times like these is to give the press release and give the information as to what the public should do if they have respiratory problems, if they suffer from anything that have to do with some persons have heart condition that they should not be in excessive smoke or they might have some lung challenges. So we normally give the information and say to people, as best as possible, ensuring that you're taking your medication, you staying away from the area being impacted. If you're traveling the area, ensure that your windows are up and stuff like that. Because in terms of a response to say that if John Brown comes into the hospital to say that I am impacted from the smoke at Riverton, it's very difficult to determine.
This question to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Acting Commissioner, you said the smoke will linger for a little while. How much longer are we talking about?
We are quite optimistic that tomorrow morning we should see a substantial reduction in the level of smoke being emitted. As to how much longer it will linger, it's difficult to say because even if the fires are completely extinguished, you will still have remnants of smoke emitting. The covering is what will take care of that, basically.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to... Oh, Kimon. You have the final word.
Final word. Do I have to? You guys said that there are 3 units on the ground right now. How much manpower is it taking?
Sir.
We have 3 units on site now, and the situation is dynamic, so there may be a need to scale up or scale down. As it is now, we are confident that the manpower that we have there, the number of units, are adequate. We currently have about 30 personnel on scene.
And also, Kimon, it's a significant mobilization of government personnel, NSWMA personnel, persons who are employed directly to the facility to manage it are also present, and other support. China Harbour has equipment on site. Private suppliers have equipment on site. So it's a significant mobilization of resources and people, which has ensured that this matter has been dealt with so quickly, so that we can actually say to you that almost 80% of it has been dealt with up to now, and within the next couple of hours, by tomorrow morning, all you will have is some lingering smoke. Ladies and gentlemen, want to express our appreciation for you attending. Thank you very much. We have some refreshments to the side. You can refresh yourselves, and thank you again.